Chapter 98 Chatting in the Night Sky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So, this giant eagle is Levin's Animagus transformation, and you two are out for a walk. And you actually drove this Ford Anglia to Uncle Harry's house and forcibly picked him up. In the sky at this time, giant eagles and cars were flying side by side. Hermione and the four people in the car finally figured out why the other party was here. You two actually took a walk in the sky at night. This is so cool. George and Fred looked at each other and praised in unison. George even whistled, making Hermione blush with embarrassment. This is none of your business. In order to cover up her shyness, Hermione said angrily. How could you do such a thing? Aren't you afraid of being discovered by ordinary people? Ronald, I remember that your father himself works in the department for the prohibition of the misuse of Muggle items. But if we don't go, Harry will have to spend the summer in the attic and won't even be able to go to school, Ronald defended loudly, his tone full of anger. There was an elf trying to stop me from going to school, Harry also said aggrievedly, he even used magic in my house. As a result, I was warned by the Ministry of Magic. If he does it again, I will be expelled. But you can definitely write to Professor Dumbledore, or Hagrid, they will be happy to help Harry, instead of taking risks in his father's car without permission, Hermione pointed out sharply, but she immediately received a retort from Ronald, but, aren't you also doing dangerous things? I guess Levin's Animagus transformation was not registered, right? Hermione was left speechless. She didn't realize that, although she always followed the rules subconsciously, under the influence of Levin and other friends, she was almost becoming a rule breaker herself. After all, most of Levin's daily behaviors are quite dangerous for young wizards and even adult wizards, for example, researching unfamiliar potions, researching new magic, transforming into Animagus without authorization, using space extension spells privately, learning apparition privately, actually, any door, hunting XXXXX level dangerous magical beasts, etc. She was almost desensitized to many deviant behaviors. Seeing that he had convinced Hermione, Ronald felt proud, but Harry Potter discovered something was wrong. Speaking of which, why are you taking a walk here? Shouldn't you be staying at home? That's because I was a guest at Levin's house, which is in the village of St. Catchpole, Hermione replied enthusiastically. Levin also lives in the village of St. Catchpole. Ronald was surprised, and George and Fred also looked over. Of course. Hermione was a little confused. Is it possible that you also live in St. Catchpole village? Of course we live in the village of St. Catchpole. The three Weasleys looked at each other and said in unison, well, after doing this for a long time, we are all neighbors. Not only could he live in the Weasley family, but he also became neighbors with two friends, Levin and Hermione. Thinking of this, Harry looked forward to the next summer vacation even more. Later, Ronald told Hermione that the Weasley family's ancestors lived in the village of St. Catchpole. Hermione revealed that Levin just moved here during this holiday season. It turns out that our new neighbor is Levin. Brother Weasley said in surprise, the new neighbor has been mysterious since he started construction work. Everyone was guessing his identity before. Ronald guessed it was a very old witch. The giant eagle gave Ronald a sharp look. I didn't. Ronald immediately defended loudly, he didn't want to be targeted by Levin. So, how did Levin move here? Harry asked enviously. He knew Levin's origins, but how could he own his own house here? Harry wanted to leave Uncle Vernon's house so badly. He bought the place, Hermione answered. But, how much does it cost? Harry couldn't help but ask, but before Hermione could say anything, the Weasley brothers gave him an explanation. You don't know yet, but Levin won the Order of Merlin, first class. George said loudly, the reason is that he killed a Chimera and saved the Muggles. Of course, this happened after buying the house, Fred added, but it is enough to prove that Levin has the ability to make money. You are truly a genius. Ronald accepted the fact with some helplessness. Not only did his peers own their own houses, they also received the Merlin Medal. So, you are living together, right? George said in a joking tone, a man and a woman alone, no wonder you come for a walk in the sky at night. We do not have. Hermione became angry again, and in order to defend herself, she couldn't help but reveal more important news: we are not alone, and senior sister Shirley is also here. So there are 3 of us. Fred whistled again. You guys are really having fun. By this time, they had arrived near Weasley's house, the car landed on the ground, the 4 people got out of the car one after another, and Levin also changed back to his human form. Remember Lisa, Fred? Levin looked at one of the twins and smiled maliciously. That Muggle girl in the paper shop, what happened to her? Fred suddenly felt a little shuddering. I saw you two having a lot of fun with her 2 days ago. Levin showed a dangerous smile. What would happen if Angelina heard about this? Angelina Johnson, like the Weasley brothers, is a player on the Gryffindor Quidditch team. Angelina? What's wrong? Do she and Lisa know each other? George asked. Levin ignored him and looked directly at Fred. If I hear rumors about living together at Hogwarts after school starts, all this will happen, understand? Clear. Fred nodded pitifully. This confused George. He was obviously a very smart person, but at this time he became dull, and he actually didn't realize that Fred liked Angelina for a long time. Poor George, he probably still can't believe it. Fred, whom he loved most, secretly fell in love with another woman behind his back. Fred obviously didn't want George to know about this, so he took the initiative to end the topic. It's still early. We have to go back to the dragon quickly. He arranged. We have to go upstairs quietly and give Mom a surprise in the morning. Then he turned to Levin. Remember to come to the burrow tomorrow and call senior sister Siri. We will hold a grand welcome party for Harry. Of course, I wish you good luck. Levin waved to him, but I do think Mrs. Weasley will give you a surprise. At least in the original book, they were caught by Mrs. Weasley after picking up Harry. After watching the 4 of them tiptoe home, Levin and Hermione also walked towards the tower. After walking a few steps, a woman's roar came from behind. Do you know how anxious I am? The bed is empty. No note left. The car is gone too. Thinking of the way they lowered their heads and were scolded, the 2 of them laughed involuntarily. Chapter 99, Cheating Lockhart. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next week was considered the happiest day in Harry's mind. Life in the magical world made him novel. Everyone in the Weasley family liked him very much. He could live with his best friend every day, and his other 2 good friends were his neighbors. He even hoped to live like this for the rest of his life. Never go back to the Dursleys again. As for Levin, Harry's arrival did not bring many changes to his life. During this time, he became obsessed with space magic. After learning Wandering Step and Any Door, Levin's understanding of conjuration spells became deeper and deeper. The more he studied, the more interested he became in the mysteries of space. The existence of demi-plane seed has also added a lot of convenience to his understanding and practice of space power. Today, Levin is studying the space expansion spell, and he is committed to casting this spell for every room in the tower. Obviously this is a good thing, but you have to know that in the Muggle world, how many people are trying to make their houses extra square meters? Nowadays, with just a wave of your hand, the area listed on your real estate certificate can be expanded tenfold. There is such a good thing in the world. But it happened that Hermione and Siri were quite crazy about this. Both girls had to grapple with the problem of how to fill a room that was 10 times the size of theirs. By the way, after Levin learned Any Door, Hermione finally no longer had to stay at Levin's house all day long. Now Levin would pick up Hermione from her house every morning and take her back to his home in the evening. Occasionally, on a whim, Hermione would stay in the tower overnight. Since then, the Grangers have looked at Levin much more kindly. At least Mr. Granger wouldn't be staring at him like he was the brat who kidnapped his daughter. And after the week passed, one fine morning, Levin received a letter from Hogwarts School. It was an envelope of yellow parchment with green writing on it. The letter listed a list of new books he would use this year. Sophomores will read Standard Spells, Level 2 by Miranda Gorshak. Breaking with the Female Ghost, by Jo Delio Lockhart. Walking with Ghouls by Gilderoy Lockhart. Holidays with a Dominatrix by Gilderoy Lockhart. Walking with Trolls by Gilderoy Lockhart. A Voyage with a Vampire by Gilderoy Lockhart. Wandering with Werewolves, by Gilderoy Lockhart. A Year with XC Snowman, Gilderoy Lockhart.it seems that Dumbledore helped Lockhart sell books in exchange for Lockhart's defense against the dark arts professorship this year. Hermione and Ciri also received the same letter. Ciri's 5th grade textbook had different textbooks on other subjects, but there was also a long list of Lockhart's works. This is too confusing. With Levin's financial strength, just a few books are nothing, but some families are different. For example, the Weasley family, their family has 5 children going to school this year. This means they have to buy 5 sets of Lockhart's books, for a total of 35 copies. According to the market price, these 7 books are close to more than 20 galleons. 5 sets of books are 100 galleons. This is undoubtedly adding insult to injury for the Weasley family, who are not already wealthy. The Weasleys probably turned green. The new dark arts professor. I wonder if this year's one is reliable. Hermione looked melancholy after reading it. Professor Quirrell's performance last semester made her despair of this course. Fortunately, Levin is tutoring her this summer. This gave her a certain degree of dark magic defense ability, compared to those of her peers who were tricked along with her. Her strength was already much higher. I seem to remember this person's name. He seems to have received a 3rd-class medal of the Order of Merlin, Shirley said as she rummaged through a pile of newspapers. Ah, I found it. I hope this article will be published. The cub of Cintra picked up an article of the Daily Prophet and read it aloud, in recognition of his brave behavior in facing the creatures of darkness, and for introducing methods of resistance in his autobiography. Hermione hummed and asked again, the Order of Merlin, level 3, is it very powerful? Should it be okay? Levin was unsure. The girl raised her head, looked at the 2 people beside her, and chuckled. You too, one is a 1st-class medal winner and the youngest Merlin medal winner. The other has won a 2nd-level medal. Compared with you, he's not that powerful. Different from the original work, Hermione now hangs out with Levin every day, which is something she has seen before. At the award ceremony, the scene of Levin chatting and laughing with celebrities in the wizarding world is still vivid in my mind. She was used to meeting truly awesome people, and although people like Lockhart were worthy of admiration, they could no longer arouse her admiration. However, Sheely had some different opinions. I have read his book at Mrs. Tonks's. At least his method of solving monsters is quite professional. Putting aside the behavior of selling books, this man does have some real talents. Each of Lockhart's writings describes his experience of dealing with a dark creature, female ghosts, ghouls, hags, trolls, vampires, werewolves, yetis. In the world of The Witcher 3, these things are completely the job of the demon hunter. Ciri was raised by a demon hunter again, after coming to the world of Harry Potter. She also acted as a witcher to earn galleons. Therefore, Ciri almost regarded Lockhart as half a peer. You're right. Levin nodded, but I advise you not to have any expectations. Why is this? Shurich said that she had always believed Levin's words. You'll know when you see him with your own eyes. He thought for a moment and added. It just so happened that this guy had written before and invited me to attend his book launch in Diagon Alley. Although I refused, I also learned that the launch would be next week. We just picked that day to go to Diagon Alley to buy new books for next semester, just so you can see what kind of person Lockhart is. Next Wednesday will arrive in a blink of an eye. Levin used 5 rings, any door, to take the 2 of them to Diagon Alley early in the morning. Never let the Flo Bang company that produces Flo powder make an extra penny. Well, the main thing is that the teleportation effect through any door is more comfortable. From a physical point of view, it is almost the same as walking through an ordinary door. Unlike Flo powder, which has to go through the fireplace, not only does it make the world spin, but it can also easily become smoky. Flo powder itself is not expensive. It was originally invented by Ignatia Wildsmith, a witch born in Ravenclaw. After her death, Flo fans were returned to the state and were controlled by official agencies. Currently, there is only one licensed manufacturer, Flo Bang Company, in the Een Kingdom. It is illegal for anyone else to sell them. However, this kind of monopoly behavior is not for huge profits, but for the convenience of the people, because for more than 100 years, the price of Flo powder has never changed. It has always been 2 sickles per spoon. In Muggle society, this is equivalent to cheap subways, buses, and green trains. Such cheap charges make the Flo network the most developed public transportation facility in the Een, which can be regarded as a rare virtue in Magic. In Diagon Alley, the three Levins happened to run into the Weasley family. The family had red hair together and stood out among the crowd. The Weasleys were going to Gringotts to get money, and Ronald stayed to chat with them. Ronald asked Levin curiously, "Don't you have to go to Gringotts to withdraw money?" Levin shook his head, "I can't trust those goblins. I would rather keep the money in my own home, which is much safer than Gringotts. Not to mention the goblin Gringotts, he couldn't even trust village banks." "My money is with Levin," Sheely said calmly. "I don't need to go to Gringotts to exchange for galleons. Levin directly uses galleons to buy pounds from my father." Hermione looked at Levin with grateful eyes, and she knew very well that Levin suffered a loss. "You guys have such a good relationship," Ronald said dryly, with a look of disgust on his face. "I guess our family won't need to save money for a long time in the future." Even though he had never met him, he was already full of disgust for Lockhart. "That's a lot of galleons," Levin thought for a while and said to him, "If you really don't want to spend the money, I have an idea. Although there is an anti-copying curse on ordinary books, the anti-copying curse cannot be copied directly with a pen. I created a little spell called Scribe Curse." Ronald's eyes suddenly lit up when he heard this, and he couldn't help but look at Levin with a much kinder look. "Levin. But, this is piracy," Hermione said weakly. "Isn't there something wrong with doing this? Perhaps seeing him in person can dispel your thoughts," Levin suggested. "We can go to Flourish and Blott's bookstore first and see it with our own eyes before we make a decision."